Another viral TikTok trend going in the wrong direction.
Has the potential to be more dangerous than a nuclear bomb.
Dangerous new viral trend making the rounds on TikTok. It's called
Honda Bump. Honda Bump. The trend of Hondas crashing into Teslas is sweeping around the world right now, striking fear in the hearts of all Tesla owners. But how did it all start, and how did it spread so fast? The first report of a Honda Bump surfaced in New Jersey in December of 2020. Okay, it's time for us to tell you about a new trend we've been noticing. We're calling it the Honda Bump. Bobby was sitting at a red light in New Jersey in his Model 3 when the driver behind him seemingly let his foot off the brake and rolled into him. Bobby turned into a shopping center parking lot to inspect the damage, but the other driver just kept going. Fortunately, there wasn't any significant damage. Hashtag Honda Bump. After we saw this first video from Bobby, it only went downhill from there. Roll all the Honda Bump videos.
Honda Bump!
Ah, a Honda! Just kidding, guys. If the Honda marketing team is watching this, we just want to say, Hondas are the best. They definitely never bump into things. I don't know why I ever thought otherwise. Oh wait, now I remember. Hashtag Honda Bump. Dan was driving in Dallas, Texas when a Honda bumped into him not once, but twice at a red light. When he got out to speak with the driver, they Honda bumped him again. Dan says that the driver acted as if he were under the influence of something, so Dan instructed him to follow him into a parking lot. There, Dan contacted the police and his insurance company. When the Honda driver heard Dan had a video of the accident, he didn't even try to argue. Later, when Dan reviewed the Tesla cam footage more closely, he spotted the driver at another intersection where he had stopped in the middle of the road and was going against a red light. Daryl was at a red light in Maui, Hawaii, waiting to turn left when a lady in a Honda pulled up behind him. Can you guess what happened next?
No!
That's right, another Honda Bump. Somehow she managed to roll right into Daryl's Model 3. After the light turned green, they both turned left before pulling over to assess the damage. The front of the Honda was undamaged, but Daryl's bumper had 4 tiny impressions from the 4 screws of the Honda's license plate. The damage was so minor, Daryl decided not to take the time to report it to his insurance company. With a smile, he told the Honda driver to have a great day and reminded her that texting and driving don't mix. Hashtag Honda Bump. Alex was driving his Model Y in stop-and-go traffic on Don Valley Parkway in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. The Honda driving right behind him did what Hondas do. That's a Honda Bump. When Alex exchanged information with the Honda driver, Alex told him about the Tesla cam video. The Honda driver said, yeah, my buddy has a Tesla as well, and I know, it does everything. Alex filed an insurance claim and ended up replacing the Tesla's lower bumper cover since it had scratches and dents from the Honda's license plate screws. Theo had picked up flowers for his wife the night before their 5th anniversary and was on his way home. In his rearview mirror, he noticed a Honda tailgating him very closely. Theo was terrified as he watches the Wham Bam videos so much he knew what might happen. He even told us it felt like a crash was inevitable, but eventually it seemed like he might just make it out without getting bumped. Who are we kidding? Here comes the Honda Bump. The damage was minimal, but his bumper received 2 holes from the Honda's license plate. Theo asks if we could give his wife a shout out as they both watched the Wham Bam show even before owning a Tesla. We're guessing Hondas aren't the only ones bumping tonight. The Chevy pickup truck next to him stopped properly for the light, but the Honda CR-V behind him barely slowed down before rear-ending the pickup. The impact pushed the Chevy into the concrete median barrier and then into another Honda CR-V right in front of it. Ladies and gentlemen, our very first double #Honda bump. It wasn't until Stan reviewed the footage after he got home that he noticed how close the debris from the crash came to hitting his car. He sent the video to the local police department. They thanked him for the video, but he didn't get a follow-up. We hope everyone involved is okay. This video was sent in from a Model X owner in Japan. Can you think of a Japanese car brand infamous for making cars that bump into other cars? That's right, here we can see a Honda approaching. Get ready for some bumping action. The Honda merged without indicating over a solid line and crashed into the Tesla, which swerved onto the curb to avoid a worse accident. Luckily, only the Honda's mirror hit the Tesla, and by the looks of it, the woman driving the Honda is waving her hands as if to say, #Honda bump. John was driving his Model 3 when this speeding Ford pickup startled a Honda Civic driver and caused him to swerve into a Model S. #Honda bump. John pulled over with them and got their email addresses so he could send them the Tesla Cam video. Unfortunately, he only had this phone recording of the Tesla's screen. 5 days after taking delivery of his Model Y, Joseph was dropping off his buddy at his parents' house. A car was stopped in front of him and he was about to go around it, but he stopped when he realized it was turning. That's when a Honda rear-ended him. #Honda bump. Joseph pulled over and called the police and waited in his car. He asked the officer if the other driver was okay, and he responded by saying the other driver was upset. Joseph isn't sure if the other driver was upset with him or with himself, because Joseph's friend heard him telling the officer that Joseph had stopped in the middle of the road. After viewing the footage from the Tesla Cam, the officer said he'd seen everything he needed to see. The other car was a total loss. Although the damage didn't look extensive, it took almost 2 months to fix Joseph's Tesla. The Honda driver's insurance paid for all the repairs and for a rental car. Joseph says he thinks the other driver may have been on his phone. The paramedics and firefighters were amazed at the quality of the footage from the Tesla Cam and were asking all sorts of questions about the car. The firefighters asked Joseph if there was a way to turn off the car, and he told them he wasn't sure. They were asking in case they needed to use the jaws of life or had to pry a Tesla open. They said they're starting to see an increase of Teslas around and wanted to know more about them. Joseph confesses that he couldn't answer all of their questions as he'd only had his car for 5 days. John was driving his Model 3 in Falls Church, Virginia, just outside of DC, when a Ford driver in front of him slammed on the brakes. John managed to react in time, but the Honda behind him wasn't so skilled. The force of the impact pushed John's Tesla into the Ford, sandwiching him between the two vehicles. #Honda bump. Before we continue, take a look at this freeze frame. That's a pretty crappy business slogan. An insurance claim was filed and police were notified. The Honda driver took full responsibility. John got a repair estimate the day after the incident for $3,000, but 1 day later, the body shop contacted him with a new estimate of $7,000. The next day, he got yet another estimate for $20,000. The 4th day after the accident, they contacted him again to let him know the estimate now totaled $24,000. At that point, the vehicle was considered a total loss. We speculate that the chassis must have been bent, because from the outside, the damage doesn't look that bad. What's your theory? Share it in the comments. Marty was waiting in his car in the Bronx in New York City when he suddenly heard a loud bang and his side mirror disappeared. It turns out this was the result of a #Honda bump. A Honda driver tried to go around a turning car, but he didn't realize he had a Mitsubishi to his right, which pushed him into the parked Tesla. Both drivers stopped on the side of the road and exchanged information. Mahdi is still waiting on an estimate to repair his mirror. Craig was waiting at a red light when vehicles started moving out of the way for a fire truck responding to an emergency. Guess what happened next? Of course, a Honda driver decided to engage Honda bump mode, striking a Toyota who was trying to get out of the way. Craig was almost involved as well, as the car behind him came close to striking him had he not moved forward to give him some room. This video was recorded in 2019 before the rear Tesla cam was enabled with the software update, so unfortunately we don't have that angle. He pulled over and loaded the videos on his iPhone. After the police spoke to the involved parties, they told Craig that they wished they had Tesla cam footage of all accidents. Craig never did find out who was ruled to be at fault. What do you think? Was it the Honda driver's fault for hitting the Toyota who was moving over for the fire truck? Or the Toyota driver who moved over the solid line without checking that it was clear? Paul was driving his 2-day-old Model Y in China when he witnessed something he thought he'd only see on the Wham Bam Tesla Cam channel. A Honda squeezed in front of him, and what followed was a whole new dimension of Honda bump. Hondas are now bumping into other Hondas. What a crazy world we're living in. Paul says that the bump was so minor he just went around them. He had just moved to China, so he wasn't feeling quite ready to intervene in a Honda bump investigation just yet. Ivan was driving east on the 210 freeway in La Cañada, Flint Ridge, California. He was on his way home from work with his 3-day-old Model Y Performance when he witnessed something he thought he'd only see on the Wham Bam Tesla Cam channel. Honda bump. Luckily, both Ivan and the Toyota driver in front of him managed to dodge the spinning Honda, avoiding what could have been an even bigger accident. Barry was driving his Model 3 in Savannah, Georgia. He just exited I-95 and was slowing down for the traffic light up ahead. After stopping behind a Toyota RAV4, Barry suddenly felt a large impact. When he looked to his right, he saw the tires of a Honda crawling up the side of his Tesla. If we take a look at the right repeater camera, we can see the same bizarre sight that Barry saw. No airbags were deployed in the Tesla, but the car did go into accident mode. Barry got out and talked with the driver of the Honda. She was pretty rattled, but everyone involved was okay. They proceeded to inspect his car, and he mentioned to her that this was going to be a very expensive repair bill. He sent the Tesla Cam videos to the police and his insurance company. The latter was quick to determine that the Tesla was a total loss. The cost to repair the damages was greater than the price of a new Model 3, so they cut Barry a check for $52,000 US. Okay guys, here it comes. Hashtag Honda Bump. We actually get a lot of comments that the hashtag Honda Bump joke is getting old, but it's not our fault that we get so many videos of Honda drivers causing accidents. We even ran a poll asking what you would be most afraid of to see in your rearview mirror. Even though the options included some truly scary cars, Honda won the poll in a landslide with 79% of over 19,000 votes. Still don't believe us? I guess you'll just have to see for yourself. Roll the Honda clips. Just a few hours after starting the poll, we got a message from Tommy who had voted for Honda, and an hour later, he got hashtag Honda Bumped. He was on his way to work when he stopped behind a bus at a red light. That's when a Honda bumped into him. After they both pulled over, he assumed they would inspect the damage and exchange contact information so they could file insurance reports, but that's not what happened. First, the driver of the Honda got out and inspected the damage to her bumping machine. Next, she walked over to Tommy, who was inspecting the visible damage to his Tesla. Before he even had a chance to say a word, she told him that there's no damage to my car or your car. He told her there was a clear dent and that the Tesla has many sensors and cameras. He also said he would like to have his vehicle inspected for further damage. Her response was, "Really, dude? Really?" Without another word, she walked back to her car and drove off, leaving him speechless. He figured that he had everything on camera and the footage would speak for itself. He went straight to the police station where the cops were very impressed with the Tesla. The officer who helped him thought it was awesome how the car had recorded the entire incident. The officer ran the woman's plates and gave her a call right away. She was very rude to him on the phone, but eventually he was able to get all of her information. The officer told Tommy that this should be an easy win for his insurance provider. Sean went on a short trip to see Warragamba Dam in New South Wales, Australia, which supplies most of Sydney's water. It was a busy weekend and people were everywhere sightseeing. As Sean and his family were walking back to the car to leave, they heard a loud crash. They ran to see what had caused the sound and saw that a Honda Civic had crashed into their Model 3. Hashtag Honda Bump. To make a long story short, a man had been teaching his wife to drive. The big yellow L on the hood of the Civic is required in Australia for people who are still learning how to drive. She had pressed the accelerator pedal instead of the brake, driven over the curb, and slammed into the Tesla. After the shock wore off, Sean says the couple was very apologetic. They exchanged insurance details and went their separate ways. Luckily, the Tesla was still drivable. The damage was completely covered by insurance and didn't cost him a cent, but because of parts availability issues, no doubt exacerbated by the pandemic, the repairs took 3 months to complete. They ended up replacing the trunk lid and the rear bumper cover. Oh no, a Honda Civic in the rearview camera. Phew, it's only parked. David had parked his Model 3 in front of a Honda in Redondo Beach, California. At 4 a.m., a white Honda Accord turned left after stopping at a red light. They then proceeded into the parking lane. The Accord rear-ended a white Honda Civic, which in turn caused it to hashtag Honda Bump into the Tesla. The Tesla's alarm and Sentry mode activated, but David never heard the alarm even though he was right by the window where it happened. He didn't realize anything had happened until he found a police report on his car windshield the following morning. Both the Civic and Accord were totaled. His Tesla sustained minimal damage to the bumper, but the bumper cover needed to be replaced due to a huge scratch. The cost was around $1,200 US and the repair took 2 weeks. The Accord driver was taken to the hospital, but David never found out what happened to them. They didn't have insurance, so David had to file an uninsured motorist claim with his insurance provider. David sent the Sentry Mode video to his insurance company as well as to the Civic owner's insurance company. David's insurance covered the repairs to his Tesla after they told him it was an open and shut case. Ed was driving his 2-week-old Model Y in San Francisco, California, doing about 70 miles per hour on the freeway when this Honda Civic came up behind him. The initial impact caused Ed to spin to the left. Then the vehicles locked together, causing a spin to the right. The Honda then bounced off the center divider and hit Ed again, as we can see in the right camera, causing him to spin back the other way. The front camera shows Ed's perspective, as well as the reason why, if you're going to be in an accident, you want to be driving a Tesla. Notice the minimal body lean and quick recovery, which can be attributed to the low center of gravity, 50-50 weight distribution, and superior stability control response time of an electric drivetrain. Ed says it was the best spin-out scenario he could imagine and that he barely felt the impact, since the Model Y weighs 4,400 pounds, about twice as much as the Civic. Ed got out and asked the Civic driver if he was okay, and he responded by asking Ed if he had changed lanes and hit him, as if the accident had been his fault. It turns out that the driver of the Honda was under the influence, and he ended up being taken away in handcuffs. Hashtag Honda Bump. Ed's insurance company is trying to determine if his Model Y is totaled. Gus was driving westbound on Florida State Road 836. He was parallel with Miami International Airport when a gray Honda Civic passed him on the right at high speed. The Honda driver immediately cut in front of Gus, losing all control in the process. This caused his vehicle to spin across all 5 lanes of the highway. Gus says he doesn't know how the driver didn't hit anything or anyone, although his ego was probably a bit damaged. Gus's Tesla was on autopilot, and surprisingly, it seemed to know that everything was going to be okay, since it just slowed down enough to avoid the incident and moved a bit to the left. That's got to be that special hashtag Honda Bump avoidance code in autopilot that we keep hearing rumors about. Now, sometimes people tell us that the hashtag Honda Bump phenomenon is just a result of the fact that there are so many Hondas on the road. With so many out there, they're bound to be bumping into things. Maybe that's true, but we've seen some pretty interesting variations that have convinced us otherwise. For example, check out these disguised hashtag Honda bumps. Audi in Canada sent us this video where a Honda took a right turn waiting for just the right time to lunge into traffic, only to be hit by a Mazda. You can't fool us, Audi, that's still a hashtag Honda bump. Val was driving his Model S in bumper-to-bumper traffic in New York City when something crazy happened right behind him. Get ready, everybody, here comes an SUV. No, that's not the one. What are we looking for, Val? We should have seen that one coming. Hashtag Honda Bump. This next video is from Yaniv, who just picked up his Model 3. He was driving in slow traffic on the highway in Tel Aviv when a Honda driver sensed the presence of a brand new Tesla. Hashtag Honda Bump. This confirms Honda Bump is a global phenomenon. Yaniv is going to have to replace his rear bumper cover and has asked the Tesla service center for one that doesn't attract Hondas. The submitter McTesla was driving his Model 3 in Colorado Springs, Colorado. Just as he was preparing to merge behind a Honda CR-V, he noticed everyone braking hard. He stayed in his lane and watched events unfold. Surprisingly, everyone managed to stop in time except for a Honda driver who managed to turn this into a multi-bump pileup. What's surprising is that another Honda behind the first one managed to miss out on the bump fest. I guess this proves that not all Hondas bump. Okay, now that we've said that, the Honda legal team can't sue us. This is just independent journalism. Hashtag Honda Bump. Roy was giving his cousin a ride home in his Model 3 in Union, New Jersey. Watch what happened when they were just a block away from his cousin's house. A Honda Civic ran a stop sign and T-boned them. Roy says it was definitely a Honda bump and a serious one. The police quickly arrived at the scene and the other driver lied to them, telling them that Roy had run a stop sign. Roy showed the officer the Tesla cam footage, which clearly shows that he didn't have a stop sign, and the officer immediately knew the Honda driver was lying. Roy and his cousin were able to walk away from the accident, but both of them now have to receive physical therapy to recover. An insurance claim was filed, and the car was deemed a total loss after being inspected. Thankfully, the used car market is high, so Roy was actually able to get more than what he paid for the car. He's got an order in for a Model Y to replace the Model 3, but he'll have to wait until January to get it. In the end, Roy's just happy everyone walked away from the crash. He asked us to give a shout out to the sneakers company he's running with his brother, the Sneaker Brothers. It seems like the least we can do in return for the great story. Thanks for sharing, Roy, and we hope your physical therapy is going well. Brian was driving his Model Y in Mesa, Arizona when traffic suddenly stopped in front of him on the freeway. Brian saw a car coming flying up behind him and moved out of the way before realizing that the Honda Accord had already been smashed into by another Honda Accord. Ladies and gentlemen, a double Honda bump. Brian ran over to check on both drivers, and everyone involved was okay. When the police arrived, he was able to give them a copy of the Tesla cam video. Angela was driving her Model 3 in Los Angeles, California. She disengaged autopilot when she heard tires screeching and saw the SUV spinning out in front of her. A Honda swooped in and couldn't miss out on a chance for some bumping action. Sorry guys, I couldn't help myself. Let's try that again. When the SUV spun out, a Honda driving right behind it tried to make an evasive maneuver, but couldn't stop in time and rear-ended the SUV. The SUV driver started to slowly pull away, and Angela thought they were going to pull over. She followed to offer them a copy of the TeslaCam video, but then the SUV started to take the exit ramp. As Angela drove by the accident scene, she noticed a black pickup truck that had been driving behind the Honda, and when they took the exit ramp, the black pickup came speeding up behind them. Angela thought it was odd that the SUV hadn't stopped on the ramp, but then it turned on its hazard lights, so she thought they might stop somewhere safe after the turn. But after making the turn, the SUV sped off, and Angela took off after them, as did the black pickup truck. When the SUV driver noticed them, they picked up even more speed, blasting through a red light. At this point, Angela backed off. What do you think happened here? Is there more to this story? Was the pickup driver chasing the SUV, or was he just trying to stop him because of the accident? Leave a comment and tell us what you think. Alan had just finished grocery shopping and gotten back to his car when the Honda in front of him pulled out and was hit by another Honda in the parking lot. Wait for it.
Jump in! Honda bombed! Honda bombed!
Alan spoke to the owner of the black Honda and let him know the whole incident had been recorded by his TeslaCam, but the owner said he didn't need the footage. Maybe that's because he knew he would find it on this week's episode of Wham Bam TeslaCam. Kevin was driving his Model S in Little Elm, Texas when he stopped for a traffic light. I bet you can guess what happened next. This Honda owner had blacked out his Honda logo, but he can't fool us. That's a confirmed Honda bump. There was minimal damage, but Kevin filed an insurance claim at the scene anyway. He says it felt a lot worse than it looked. A quick trip to Whole Foods turned into more of an insurance adventure than planned for this Model 3 owner, when a Honda driver was more interested in their phone than they were in watching the road. Roll the Honda bump jingle again!
Jump in! Honda bombed! Honda bombed!
Joseph was driving south on I-5 near Lathrop, California when he passed a red Honda Civic that immediately wanted to overtake him again. The Civic jumped all the way over to the fast lane without checking for traffic, but there was already a blue Honda Civic in that lane which proceeded to lose control and take out the red Civic. There's a glitch in the Honda bump code. They're turning on each other. Susan was also driving on I-5 when she also noticed this new glitch. A white Honda Civic suddenly decided to zip across two lanes and bump into another Honda Civic. At first it looked like the white Civic was about to run, but they both ended up getting off the interstate at the next exit. Hopefully they got everything resolved, but if not, Susan hopes this video helps. Hashtag Honda Bump. Ruth was driving her Model 3 in San Francisco, California. The main road was blocked by emergency vehicles, so all traffic was being diverted onto a tiny side street. She backed up to let a Honda pass when she had space to do so, but then cars came piling up behind her and she had to move forward so they could also let the Honda get past. Then another Honda came driving up the street, but this time Ruth couldn't move anymore since she now had cars tailgating her. So the Honda would need to yield. Roll the jingle.
Jump in! Honda bombed! Honda bombed! Yeah!
The Honda driver fled the scene, but Ruth pulled over and waited to meet the owner of the Škoda that had been Honda bumped. The damage to the rear body panel and wheel was quite extensive. The TeslaCam video helped the insurance company locate the offending car and its driver. Trina was driving her Model 3 back home from work in San Francisco, California when she noticed a Honda coming up in the HOV lane in her rearview mirror. The Honda lost control and Honda bumped right into Trina's Tesla. Thankfully, nobody was hurt. Trina contacted the police and the Tesla cam had captured the license plate, so she filed an insurance claim and the Honda driver's insurance agreed to pay to repair the damage. We get a lot of comments telling us that we show lots of Honda bumps, but we never show any bad Tesla drivers. Well, the tables have now turned. This video comes from Robert, who drives a Honda Civic and is rocking a Garmin dash cam. According to him, this video is proof that not all Honda bumps are intentional. While he was making a left turn, a Tesla driver decided to drift into his lane, causing Robert to bump into it. He was really surprised that the Tesla hadn't automatically tried to avoid the accident. Robert wasn't able to go into the rightmost lane because there was already another car in that lane, forcing him to stay in the middle lane. Both Robert and the Tesla driver pulled over, and he made an insurance claim then and there. The Tesla driver's insurance determined that she was at fault, and they covered the cost of repairs to Robert's car, which cost $2,100 US. Robert wanted us to ask the Wham Bam viewers a question. Should this be considered a Honda bump or a Tesla bump? Leave your vote in the comments. Okay everyone, you're gonna want to sit down for this one. This just might be the most intense video we've ever shown. You know that we usually joke about Honda bumps. Well, it's time for the Teslas to start fighting back. Okay, not really. Hold on tight. John was backing his Model Y out of his garage like he does every day, but he didn't remember that his in-laws had parked their Honda behind his car while they were visiting. John realized what happened and had to ring his own doorbell to confess his mistake to his in-laws.
Did you just hit their
I just hit the car. Yes, so I think my car's more damaged than theirs. So we have a claim. Just never been anything behind me. I'm sorry, I hit it. Just backing up. Tell your parents, I'll be back.
Luckily, his wife opened the door and he asked her to relay the message so he could take off before they came out. Jokes aside, John was embarrassed and he's checking to see if paintless dent repair is an option. He's scheduled a service appointment with the Tesla Service Center. Luckily, the Honda had no damage.
Somebody should be keeping an eye. We can't have the inmates running the asylum here.